All right. So I've been getting lots of requests the past couple days and the past couple months actually to share my story of my journey becoming a life coach. I think this is because in this epidemic, so many people are having the spaciousness to sit with themselves and really ask themselves what it is that they want to do with their lives. And so many of us are coming to that conclusion that what we most want to do is be of service to others. So I think there's this collective waking up that's happening, and there's so many that are wanting to join the path of transformation and become coaches and become somebody who supports others on their path of transformation. So I put a call out for anybody who wanted to ask me a question about my journey starting a business in transformation and becoming a coach. They could ask me anything that they wanted to ask me, and I got several questions, and I'm going to try to answer all of them in the next 42 minutes, which is how much time I have until my next coaching client. So here goes. The first question that somebody asked is, why did you decide to become a life coach? Whenever I'm asked this question, there's always 100 different ways that I could answer and 100 different stories that I could tell for why I chose this as my life path. Really, it started in childhood in a number of different ways. I've always been that person that people come to when they're dealing with something. I've always been the secret keeper, the one that people share things with that they've never shared with anybody else, the one that they're like, oh my gosh, this is happening in my world. What do I do? So I've taken that role on since I was very, very little. And then also I had a really challenging and tumultuous childhood that left me with severe separation anxiety, sleep disorder, stomach ulcers, obsessive compulsive, and then eventually anorexia. And I was really in this war with myself. And it was the tools of transformation that allowed me to be liberated from all of this pain that I carried that was essentially running my life. And having had such a stark contrast of the weight that I used to carry, the emotional and mental weight that I used to carry, and now the liberated existence that I get to live, there's just nothing else that I wanted to do with my life besides to give that back to others in any way possible. And it's kind of addictive in the best way. When I was in a program, my first transformational program that I was ever in, I was elected a leader, and I had 10 participants that I was responsible for causing a transformation in whatever area of life they wanted to transform. And it was the most fulfilling and nourishing experience probably of my life up until that point, getting to have permission to stand for somebody in that way and really put myself on the line to ensure that they have the breakthrough and the transformation that they wanted to have. And in that experience, I discovered that I'm really effective at this. It came with such ease for me. And the results that were produced were extraordinary. And that was one of the moments of me concretizing my decision that this is what I was going to do with the rest of my life. Because not only did I discover how effective I was, but I also discovered how nourishing it was for me to really get to make that kind of difference for somebody. It was so incredibly life-giving and nourishing and sustaining for me. So how did I become a life coach? Well, I had an extremely difficult childhood, which I'm so grateful for now, because early on in my life, I got to work through so incredibly much. And now I have so much empathy for most things that humans can experience because I went through so much of it. And I'm not going to go into that in this video, but really, first and foremost, my own life experience and having had such a inner shift and transformation and just wanting so badly to give that freedom and that peace back to others is really the main reason why I got into coaching. I actually studied politics in college, and really it was an education in social justice, which I still very much weave into my work. So the type of life coaching approach that I take also includes educating my clients and informing them and waking them up to the consensus reality that we all live in and to the dominant narratives that are the water that we're swimming in that have this oppressive nature, and really having them see it for what it is so that they can choose differently, so that we're not living this set of values that was given to us by our patriarchal capitalist society, but we're actually getting to choose our own values and commitments for ourselves. So I'm so grateful for my politics, social justice education, because I use it in most coaching conversations that I have, because coaching is so multidimensional. We have to draw upon the political nature of why we feel the way we feel about ourselves, why we have the thoughts that we have about ourselves, why we have these certain relationship dynamics, as well as the psychological and spiritual and philosophical nature of it. So I'm so glad that I got to take so many philosophy classes and politics classes in college, because I definitely draw upon that enormously in my work now. The next question is, what certifications do you have, or what trainings do you have? So I do not have a life coach certification, and I'm the first one to proudly admit that. I actually don't really believe in life coach certifications. I've looked into a number of them, and there's none of them that I feel is even close to as comprehensive as what is necessary for somebody to really be trained to be able to support somebody else in having the transformations that they want in their lives. So I don't have a life coach certification, proudly, and I have 10 years of intensive training, and I can go into what that's looked like for me. So the first transformational experience, massive transformational experience I ever had, was the Landmark Forum. So Landmark Worldwide is a worldwide institute that's committed to personal and professional development. They are phenomenal. I had an incredible experience at Landmark. My first Landmark weekend, by my Sunday evening, I felt like I was flying. I kid you not. I was walking across the room, and I felt like I had wings and I was flying through space. It was such a euphoric experience for me to be liberated from all of the past narratives that I had entrapped myself in. It really supports individuals in distinguishing actual reality from our story about it, which is the bedrock of transformation. Transformation cannot exist, in my opinion, without a solid understanding of how to support ourselves and support others in making that distinction between reality and our story about it. So after my experience at the Landmark Forum, I got incredible insights into my eating disorder, my separation anxiety, my obsessive compulsion, my sleep disorder, the issues that I was having in friendships and my family relationships. So many insights into that, and I was hooked. So I ended up studying intensively with Landmark Worldwide for 5 years. So I did every program that they have. They have a communications course, which is probably my favorite program. I recommend it so much. They have an advanced course. They have mini seminars that I took most of them. And then I did their 7-month intensive leadership program called Introduction Leaders Program. And then I worked as an introduction leader for them for 2 years. So this was my introduction into the world of transformation. And I'm so grateful for the education that I got from Landmark. I still draw upon it all of the time. And in the many years since I completed my 5-year stint with Landmark, I've discovered so many other healing modalities that are also necessary. So I love Landmark, and I think that it's a necessary component of transformation, everything that they teach, and it's not quite sufficient. So I'm really glad that I have that bedrock and that foundation, and that now I have exposed myself to so many other healing and transformational modalities, because now I have this, in my mind, really well-rounded set of tools that I'm able to implement and work with people. So these other tools include the work of Byron Katie. So Byron Katie is absolutely incredible. If you are not well-versed in her work, whether you want to be a coach or you don't want to be a coach, it doesn't matter. I highly recommend that you dive into the work of Byron Katie. It is questioning our beliefs and turning our beliefs around, and really this understanding that the whole universe is a mirror for us, and being able to see that the judgments that we hold towards others are often beliefs that we have subconsciously about ourselves. Her work is incredible. So that's another element of my training. The art of circling, which I think is a really necessary component for anyone who not only wants to be a coach, but also wants to host group work. So really it teaches how to be able to show up in our full presence in a group and actually work with what's alive in the moment. Work with the energy that's arising in the moment rather than going into past or future or story. And being able to do that and being able to be fully seen vulnerably by another human, a stranger even, without needing to hide and defend and protect parts of ourselves. So that's the art of circling. Authentic relation training, I've done their level 1 and their level 2 trainings, which I highly recommend. So what I love about authentic relation training is that you learn these tools in the moment with other people, with other participants. So you're not just intellectualizing them, you're getting to go to work with other humans in the moment, which is so necessary and important. As coaches, we can only take other people as deep as we've taken ourselves. So if we are not willing to be painstakingly vulnerable in the face of another, then we cannot expect to be able to support somebody in a real sustainable transformation. So authentic relation training is near and dear to my heart. I love it. I, again, recommend it for everyone. All of these trainings that I've done, I'm so grateful that by doing them, they contribute to my career. And I highly recommend all of these trainings for anybody, whether you want to be a coach or not. Okay, so authentic relation training is another one. Inner child work is a huge, huge, huge part of all of the work that I do, all of the coaching work that I do. And this inner child work has been a lot of self-study. I've drawn on so many people's teachings about inner child work and have really been diving into it and studying it for years. So there's not a specific training program I've done for that. And I've read countless books and dived into the teachings of so many people around inner child work. Somatic experiencing is another portion that I think is really necessary to have at least somewhat of an understanding of somatic experiencing before going into supporting others in transformational work. We cannot just work up here. We have to also be able to work in the body and with the body and how that energy moves and comes alive in the body in the moment when we're in a coaching conversation. So books that I recommend to get a little snapshot into what somatic experiencing is are Waking the Tiger and The Body Keeps the Score. Those are two books that are great beginner books into the world of the somatic. Acceptance and commitment therapy is one of my favorite modalities of all time. And you can self-study this modality, so you don't have to pay tons of money to go take a course. There are excellent courses out there on acceptance and commitment therapy, but a book that I really recommend is How to Change Your Mind. And it's a self-study guide. And I mean, it's a thick book. It takes a long time to get through, but taking yourself through all of the exercises has been hugely helpful. And that's the work of willingness. And it's a necessary piece. I don't think that coaching can happen without a firm understanding of the work of willingness and what pain of presence is versus pain of absence and how to support clients in being able to understand the difference. So acceptance and commitment therapy, a hugely important part of my training. Trauma-informed care. Again, I think we would be irresponsible to be coaches without some level of trauma-informed care. And trauma-informed care doesn't make us qualified to work with people with trauma. It makes it so that we can know where our boundaries are and when we need to refer out. So a huge responsibility of being a coach is understanding where our limitations are. So often I am recommending that my clients go see a trauma specialist rather than solely work with me. And I'm happy to be part of their team, but I do not want them to just work with me. So trauma-informed care just gives us enough knowledge to be able to recognize when we need to refer a client out and how to be delicate and to avoid really triggering our clients in our sessions as well. So trauma-informed care is an important piece of this as well. Nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg. I love nonviolent communication. It's hugely helpful in supporting others in relationship skills and in communication skills, which of course is a huge component of any form of coaching. And then other trainings that I've done. So Rich Lidvin, he is the author of the book, The Prosperous Coach. And I've done several weekend coaching trainings with him. He's phenomenal as well. I highly recommend reading that book if you're interested in getting into coaching. It's a foundational book as well. So his trainings have been instrumental. And then of course, my spiritual influences. So my practice is I work with people who really identify as being spiritual and people who don't identify as being spiritual at all. And I can kind of translate And I will pull out the spiritual side when that's going to serve the client, and it doesn't need to come out when I get that that's not what a client is interested in. However, my own personal spiritual practice hugely informs everything that I do as a coach. And some of my influences there are Marianne Williamson. I hold her near and dear in my heart. And A Course in Miracles, studying A Course in Miracles in and of itself. And then Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, Ram Dass, Krishnamurti. So these are and Ken Wilber. These are my foundational spiritual guides. Oh, and Wayne Dyer, of course. Oh my gosh, how could I leave out Wayne Dyer? So spirituality is also a bedrock of my specific coaching practice. So I'm consistently studying mystical traditions and spiritual practices as well. And then another huge component of my development to become a coach is plant medicine and sitting in ceremony and doing really deep, really, really challenging inner work on the wounds that I carry within myself. And this is by far the most important part of working in any field of transformation. It is a deep, lifelong, lasting commitment to our own transformation. And we're never done with it. As long as I'm committing to being a coach, I'm committed to ongoingly transforming myself. So my spiritual practice is hugely important. Meditating for me is hugely important. Breath work for me, also holotropic breath work, is a component of what I teach and what I do as well. So studying that has informed my coaching practice greatly. So my personal spiritual practice and my sitting in ceremony and working with plant medicines and working with healers and working with shamans has been a huge part in what I now teach, because we guide ourselves through it first, and then whoever wants to work with us receives the medicine of what we've already transformed and transmuted within ourselves. Like I said earlier, we can only take our clients as far as we've been willing to take ourselves. So, for example, right now, I've been coaching for so many years, and I'm always in a training program. That's my personal commitment. I am so committed to ensuring that I am the most of service that I can possibly be for others. So part of my job description for myself as a coach is to ongoingly transform myself, right? So right now I'm also in a training academy with Isabel Tierney, who was my therapist, and now I'm apprenticing with her, and she is teaching the Feel Good Life certification, which is wonderful work, knowing the feel good scale and knowing where we're at in any moment and how to shift ourselves out of stress response and into relaxation response and live a feel good life. So I'm in that training right now. I'm in a Reiki training certification right now. So one of the things that I really want to make clear to everybody who has this beautiful commitment to enter the space of serving as a transformational coach is that we have to take it so incredibly seriously. It is not something to be taken lightly. This industry is not regulated, and that doesn't mean that anybody can just become a coach and decide to start coaching other people. I believe that we need to take it as seriously as doctors, nurses, dentists. And when we think about these professions, nobody becomes a doctor without committing to years and years and years of education and training and being willing to invest so much money. Becoming a doctor, you have to be willing to upfront invest hundreds of thousands of dollars. Luckily for coaching, I've been able to very much cut that investment down, and I've invested many tens of thousands of dollars in my own transformation. So in all of these training programs that I just listed, many, many thousands of dollars. And then also in my working with a coach. I personally have the belief that it's inauthentic for us to be coaches who are not being coached. Because if we believe that it's really necessary for all humans to have somebody who's listening for their greatness and showing them their blind spots, then we should also want that for ourselves. So I always have a coach that is listening to me as bigger than I listen to myself, and is pulling for my greatness, and is holding me accountable, and is showing me my blind spots. And again, for me, that's a part of my continued education. And that's a part of me really taking coaching seriously and being responsible for ensuring that I'm in integrity with the transformation that I'm providing for others. So really, coaching is consistently doing our own work, consistently investing in ourselves, in being supported and overcoming all of our wounding, blocks, limitations, coping mechanisms, avoidance strategies, ego strategies, etc. And studying. Like, I am a disciple of transformation. I'm a loving devotee of transformation. I will never, ever, ever in my life stop equipping myself with tools of transformation and stop learning. The day that I stop learning transformation is the day I stop coaching. We have to be in it ourselves at all times. It's like staying in the fire. I tell you, coaching, I'm constantly having to witness these parts of myself. I'm constantly having to call myself out on my smallness. And that's the only way that I see that I can be authentic as a coach. Okay. So back to my story of how I started my coaching practice. So I shared with you that I had this 5-year apprenticeship, whatever you want to call it, with Landmark. And simultaneously, I was completing my college degree. And then I was working for a financial lending company. I was the head of corporate recruitment for a financial lending company for 2 years. And this was not my sole job. I very much did not actually, I'm going to rephrase that. I knew that it wasn't my sole calling by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm so grateful for it because it gave me a 2-year runway to be able to start investing in myself and in this platform that I wanted to create, this transformational platform that I wanted to create. And I'm so grateful for it because it took some of the pressure off of my needing for my creative passion, my coaching, to make money right away. So I had 2 years of having income come in from another job where I could really focus on writing, on creating content, on studying, on practicing coaching others. It's irresponsible for us to need other people to coach in order for us to survive and be okay. Because then we're dependent on other people needing us. So for me, those 2 years of having another source of income while I was starting to build up my coaching practice were crucial. And I highly recommend that any of you considering going into coaching, if you can, create another stream of revenue for yourself while you're getting started so that you don't have to have so much pressure on needing for transformation to make you money right away. I highly recommend that. Because otherwise we get this stressed out sort of energy of like, oh, I need clients, and then we're feeling desperate and people can feel that, and it's just not really in service, right? So for me, having that other job for those 2 years was really important. And what that actually looked like for me was I was working my job for this Fortune 500 company, and on my lunch breaks, I was taking coaching calls. Whenever I had downtime at my desk, I was writing articles. After work, I was hosting workshops. On the weekends, I was hosting retreats. Not every weekend, occasionally, right? At one point, I was being Ubered to and from work, and I was taking coaching calls in the Uber on the way to work. So I made it work. And then eventually it reached a point where I was having a lot of clients come to me, and I didn't have the capacity to work that other job and do my coaching work as well. So at that point, I made the transition. And of course, it was scary. It was really scary. I was leaving this cushy salary job where I was handed this nice paycheck every 2 weeks and leaping forth into the abyss and trusting that my commitment to being of service was going to carry me. And the thing that made the most difference for me there in being able to leave the security of this job was knowing that I would rather, and I remember having this conversation with myself before I sent that email to my boss saying that I was quitting. I would rather couch surf on my friends' couches for months on end and eat top ramen for every meal of the day than not do the work that my soul is committed to doing. And knowing that and realizing that liberated me to be able to make that scary choice and trust the abyss. And luckily I had money in the bank, so I had a safety net, which was really important. Again, it allowed me to not put so much pressure on my creative self-expression, which is coaching, and be able to really be service-hearted and service-minded rather than be stressed out and angsty trying to make money off of clients, which again is out of integrity in my perspective. So there came a point where the workshops that I was hosting, the articles that I was writing, the YouTube videos I was filming, the clients that I had, etc., gained such momentum that I knew it was time to shift into that full time. And I will tell you, those first couple weeks of me working for myself full time were extremely intense. I don't know if this would be the same for any of you, but for me, I had so much fear come up. I thought, did I just make the wrong choice? Am I stupid? I just left this incredible job to be working for myself, and now I have to self-generate every single day, and I have to be my own boss, and I have to create my own income. What have I done? I was so confronted in those first couple weeks, and I had to hold such compassionate space for myself. And luckily I had loved ones that were rooting me on and cheering for me and holding space for me during that time as well. And it was an intense transition. And in those first many months of my coaching, I gave so many hours of coaching away for free. I was posting on Facebook, I was posting on Instagram, I was telling my friends, anybody and everybody that wanted to experience coaching, I was coaching them for free. And this was because, yes, we need to study a lot, the tools of transformation, and the only way to get better as a coach is to coach. So I was having many hours a day of free coaching conversations, and then I was requesting feedback, honest feedback. How was that for you? What did you get out of that? Do you have any feedback for me? What could I have done differently? Was it too fast-paced? Was I giving you enough spaciousness to respond? Was I asking you leading questions and leading you to answers, or asking you leading questions rather than allowing you to come to your own conclusions? So asking for feedback, and then also getting testimonials, which then supported me in being able to have clients come to me rather than me coming to those clients. So when we're starting out in the field of transformation, we just got to give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away. It's really a lot like being an artist. The only way that somebody's going to buy your art is if they look at it and they like it. They experience what your art is. So still to this day, I do just discovery calls where I give somebody a taste of what it's like to work with me. And if somebody's asking me about my credentials, then I know that I haven't caused a real transformation for that person, because they're interested in why am I qualified rather than feeling the difference that I've made for them. So in the beginning, give it away. Go through your phone contacts and reach out to anybody and everybody and say, I'm beginning on this path of coaching and I would love to coach you for free in exchange for feedback and potentially in exchange for a testimonial. And then even when you're late into your career as a coach, still giving it away for free up front and allowing people to experience your medicine and your magic, and then using that to decide if they really want to work with you. And there are other ways of going about it, but for me, that's what feels most in alignment and most in integrity. So I think that answers the question, how did you find clients? Giving content away. So not only giving coaching away, but also giving away the art. I have 200 articles probably published online by this point, and at least 200, if not more, videos on YouTube. And I've hosted dozens and dozens of workshops and retreats. And all of these are what are called lead magnets. So it's a way that you give some of your art away, you give some of your creative expression away so that others can taste it and so that they can start to trust you and build that trust relationship. For somebody to open up about everything that's happening in their life requires a heck of a lot of trust. And most people in their right mind are not going to just trust you fully right off the bat. So it requires that they really experience consistency from you and that you're consistently able to cause these micro transformations for them through your emails, through your articles, through your videos, Instagram posts, etc. So that's how I get clients. And now I don't really do anything to get clients except I create inspired content and share it. And then people go to my website and they fill out the form to work with me, and we have a discovery call, and then we go from there. But for the most part, I just sit back and the clients come to me because I would like to think that I'm very generous with the content that I share and create. And so it creates that trust where people are like, oh, well, I've been reading her articles for a year. I trust her enough to be able to really share with her what's going on and trust her to cause a transformation in my life. Yeah. So the next question is, how do I start? Do I need money to start? And what qualifications do I need? I think I've covered a lot of this. How do you start is get really clear about who you want to serve. So when I started as a coach, I was working with people with body image issues and with a challenging relationship to food and to their bodies. That was my specific niche. And now I've branched out and I'm much more broad and work with people all across the board. And I love that diversity. For me, that diversity is really nourishing and fun and fulfilling. But when I started out, I was really clear, okay, this is who I want to work with. So I was specifically creating content for people who are struggling with their relationship with food and their bodies. And I think that it's really helpful to have a niche like that, especially in the beginning, so that people can get used to what they're going to come to you for. So getting clear about who is it that you want to serve, creating your ideal client. So actually inventing a person. So Susie is 29 years old and is an entrepreneur who is really committed to making a difference in the world, and she has a creative side and she likes to laugh, and like really creating this person in your mind so that you know who you're creating all of your content for. It's for Susie. And again, that just simplifies things. It makes it a lot easier, and it creates that consistency so that people can trust you. Okay. Do I need money to start? I think so. Yeah. Like I said before, we need to take the business of transformation, of coaching, as seriously as a doctor or a nurse. It's not, I think one of the problems with the fact that coaching is unregulated is that certain people are like, oh, well, that's going to be the easiest industry for me to start making money right now. And that's their why. That's their reason for getting into coaching. That's not why anybody should ever get into coaching. It should be because they have a lifelong commitment to being of service to humanity. And they understand that that entails ongoingly transforming themselves first and foremost. That transformation is an inside job, and transformation for others is a byproduct of our transforming ourselves first and foremost. That's the why that's in integrity in my mind to come into coaching. So it shouldn't be from a place of scarcity. It shouldn't be from a place of, I got to make money, so I guess coaching, since it's unregulated, I'm going to go into that. Because like I said, I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in my education, so many years, so much time, and I continue to do so. A portion of every month, every dollar that I make from coaching goes back into me educating myself on more coaching modalities so that I'm more equipped. So you don't necessarily have to pay money to start. You can, like I said, acceptance and commitment therapy. You can get that book, How to Change Your Mind, and you can guide yourself through that whole book. And the book costs maybe $20. That's not much money. But it's unfair for us to expect for other people to invest in their transformation if we're not willing to invest in our own transformation. So I think first and foremost, we have to be willing to actually pay money and devote our time to investing in our transformation before we can expect that anybody else is going to do that. And if we notice that we have fears around that, or we feel like, well, I don't deserve that, or that's too much money for me to spend, know that those are all the same fears that are going to come up in your clients. So if you're not able to love yourself through those fears, then you can't expect that of your clients. So I do believe that it's very important that we've invested quite a bit of money and time in ourselves, in our own transformation, and in studying transformational modalities, and we've taken it very seriously before we start marketing ourselves as a coach. And that's the level of integrity with which I hope that everybody in this industry is operating. So I do encourage you to invest in yourself greatly, right? And what qualifications do I need? So again, it's like being an artist. I've never gone up to an artist and said, wow, I love your painting. Where'd you go to art school? Oh, you didn't go to art school? Oh, okay, well then your painting's not that great. That's not how it works, right? So we give transformation away. We support people in having a real experience of having a breakthrough, of having a transformation. We can't fake it. You can't fake that. And only through doing that is somebody going to trust us to work with us. So the qualifications that we need are to be able to make a real sustainable difference for other human beings. And that's up to you what that looks like. For me, it's looked like years and years of investing in healing modalities, training modalities, transforming myself, therapists, coaches, right? It's been a lifetime learning journey, and I feel very confident that I can reliably cause a transformation. And I will sit with somebody in it until we have caused that transformation. And I know myself to be able to do that. So that's what qualifies me to be a coach. And you'll know when you're at that point. And if you're coaching and you're realizing that you're trying to fake it, you're trying to fake a transformation, or you're noticing that, this person really hasn't had a transformation, then that's when we go back to the books. That's when we go back to studying the modalities so that we're more equipped to be able to support that person. Yeah. So, I think those are all the questions. Some of the questions were double. So the last thing that I want to say about working in the space of transformation is that it is the best choice that I've ever made in my life. I love my job so, so much. It is my favorite thing. When I have to go without coaching for even a couple days, I feel different. I feel like, oh God, I need to coach, right? And that's not because I'm reliant on other people to feel good. It's because I love it so much. It's my passion. So I notice when I haven't done it for a while, right? My creative expression is to share about transformation. So I love it so much. It's the best gift that I've ever given to myself, to give myself permission to pursue what my heart most wants to follow. And the advice that I would love to give for anybody out there who's considering entering the space of transformation is get clear about how your heart wants to shine. And I know that sounds so trite and woo-woo. And the medicine that you carry, nobody else on this planet carries. The magic that you are, nobody else on this planet is. So if you have a sincere, deep, heartfelt desire to being of service, right? As coaches, we are servants. I'm a servant to humanity. If you have that deep commitment and you're willing to do what it takes to ongoingly look deeply at yourself and every single day call yourself out on your own smallness, call myself out on my own smallness, right? If you're willing to do that and you have that deep commitment to being of service to others, and it's not coming from a place of ego, of needing to make a difference in order to feel good about ourselves, in order to feel purposeful, and if it's not coming from a place of scarcity, of I need to make money quick, but rather it's coming from an abundance of love that you have for humans. I love people so much, so naturally, of course, I want to support people every single day of my life. So if it's coming from that place of abundance, that place of inspiration, that place of love and devotion for humanity, and you understand that this is a tough career, it requires so much introspection, so much willingness to be with all parts of ourselves. We cannot hide from ourselves as coaches. We cannot. I mean, we can, but then we're really doing a disservice to others. So if you have that level of willingness, if you have that heart pledge, that commitment, then coaching's for you. And welcome. Welcome to the space of transformation. Welcome to being a shepherd of the dawn, a light worker, a medicine person, whatever you want to call it, right? Welcome. And I'd love to support you. This is something that I love to do. I love to support people in making the transition to creating a platform for themselves, where they can serve in a way that is nourishing to humanity and nourishing to themselves simultaneously. I love to support people in breaking through all of the limitations that we impose upon ourselves and create a vision of the future that is so inspiring and nourishing that it calls us forth in every moment. I love that. I love to coach people on that. My favorite people to coach are people who are committed to making a difference in the world. So if you're wanting to be supported in that, I'd love to have a conversation with you and see if I would be the right fit. I do highly recommend that you have a coach. If you're wanting to become a coach, I cannot recommend enough that you get a coach to support you in becoming a coach. And I'd love to be that person. I'd love to discover with you if I am that person, if I feel like you're a fit for me, and if you feel like I'm a fit for you. So reach out to me and let me know how what I shared in this video resonates with you. If you have any additional questions, and also if you want to set up that call and discover what your future as a being of service to transformation could look like. So thanks for tuning in and thanks for watching.